Ladies and gentlemen, it's back. It's split 2 of the DoorDash LCO, and damn, I'm hungry for some more League of Legends action. Joining me to bring you all the action and to talk about what's on the menu tonight, we do have Rusty and Skimmy for day 1 of the DoorDash LCO. Gentlemen, it's been a hot minute. How you feeling?
It's been a bloody while, hasn't it? I mean, feeling good. I was going to go second, Skimmy. I wanted to know how you're feeling first, because
Sure.
I was going to talk about what I've been doing in this off-season, Mac.
Yeah.
But I've gone first anyway, so I'm just going to interject on myself here. Skimmy, how are you doing, mate?
Mate, look, I'm doing well. I'm excited to scream and shout again. Remember how hyped up we can get about these things. So, look, I mean, we did really well overseas, right? We'll talk about that a little bit later on to the show, but just really keen to see what it means for the rest of the teams in this region, whether that adds a little bit of extra motivation, if we get some more fans watching from some crazy hours across the world, and they get to live, love, and laugh the whole Aussie banter and lingo.
Yeah, it was so good watching those. Unfortunately, I couldn't watch some of the last games because the missus cracked the whip early and said, look, you're staying up very late. Please come to bed earlier. But I did watch what I could, and it was so entertaining. Such a good run from Pentanet. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But for now, let's have a quick look at the format of Split 2. Not much has changed, except in the regular season, all the teams are going to be playing each other 3 times. So there is, I guess, 1 time more than the 2 times from last split that they all played. But look, here we are. It's going to be a damn good season. Same 8 orgs, rather, same 8 teams, but a few roster swaps in there, and of course the playoffs will be happening after the regular season, and that's where it's going to get down to brass tacks, and we're going to see some crazy damn stuff coming on again. Anything you guys want to touch on before we move along?
Yeah, for sure. The one thing that I will say is esport fans hate ties. That's why best of 2s have disappeared from esports. So they play each other 3 times, which means we don't have ties in head-to-head. So I'm sure everyone's happy.
That's exactly what you want to see as well. Now, let's bring up the prize pool. It's the same as last split, but there's a damn lot of money on the line. First place taking home $15,000. That's a lot of dollars. I wish I had $15,000. I'd be a very happy man. Second place taking home $10,000, and third with $5,000 as well. So that is going to be a nice little bonus, as well as the bragging rights of coming first, second, and third. The podium finishes there once we do get towards the playoff stage. Now, Skimmy, if I gave you $5,000 right now, what would you do with it?
I buy a lot of skins, because skins mean wins. I need to get every single prestige skin, run it down, go 0-10, hit a power spike, and say, but at least I look good doing so. So there you go, Mac. Hard suck A-Ram player.
True. And look, some more good news as well. While the off-season was happening, I did almost manage to get to Silver 3, but I'm out of Bronze, and that's what matters. I think I got into Silver 4 towards the end of last season. But we're climbing and we're learning and we're getting better at League together, and that's what it's all about as well, is learning and having a good time at the end of the day. Rusty, you said you were having a crazy time during the break. Obviously, you were watching MSI as well. You're having a good time with that. And you did also get to do the shout-out on behalf of all of the Oceanic talent as well, leading into MSI. So, you know, you're not a big man in terms of, throwing out the knuckle sandwiches, but you were certainly talking a big game there.
There was a bit of a... Look, Pentanet fans probably were quite upset that I was the only one who didn't predict them to make it out. But then I was making all of these videos with blind faith in them. So it's a very conflicting off-season for me, Mac, is what I will say. But the other thing that I was doing, because MSI always started at like 10 p.m., right? Went to like 5 a.m., is I've discovered a new sport called Kabaddi, which is the most fascinating thing that has occupied most of my time in the off-season. It is the greatest sport I've ever seen, because you have to hold your breath and chant while you're playing. So it gets very intense. That's all I'll say on it for now.
I'm lost. Anyway, I'm going to...
Wrestling? Okay. It's wrestling with breath holding. You attack, you have to play tag, but when you're attacking, you have to hold your breath and chant Kabaddi, which is what makes it interesting. It's really fascinating to watch.
So you sit there and go, like that? You just chant in without opening your mouth?
You take one breath back. You can't breathe, so you chant with the one breath.
Right. Okay, I thought you had to keep your mouth closed. That's where I was lost. Anyway, I'll have to look into that later. Skimmy, what did you do with your off-season?
I actually had a big break away from the League of Legos. I played other games. I've refreshed my mental. I got myself Look, I don't play ranked Mac. I've learned that lesson very quickly. Don't need to flex high rank borders. Just play ARAM, learn the mechanics, have fun, run it down with Rusty, lose 2 games, he leaves the lobby and leaves me on scene. That
It was one game actually. But
yeah, tends to be the go. But no, I'm refreshed. I'm ready. We're gonna rock and roll. Jump back into this one. Remember how we get hyped and how we get excited, and we're gonna pick it up from where we left off with the finals.
Yeah, I'm very excited to get into this split. Now, let's have a quick chat about expectations. You know, there's been a couple of roster shuffles across the board. You know, one big name that has come back is, of course, Babip from overseas. And that's going to be an interesting one because it's going to be a battle of the junglers. We've got a couple of shuffles as well. It looks like Izgudo and Frosts as well, both joining Mammoth Gaming. They're going to be, well, I think we get to see them towards the end of the night, but we'll see what they're going to be able to do. I really like Gudo, just straight up because of his name. So that's going to be a fan favorite, I hope, for everyone out there. You know, we go, Gudo, you know, and they've got Nectar there as well, so you got to respect the neck. But Mammoth, they're just content kings, aren't they?
From names, absolutely. But there are also a lot of players that we don't know a lot about, Mac. And also from Gravitas Izakana with Floppy, 2 new players that we don't know a whole lot about also. So with all these roster shifts and with the massive amount of time we've had in the off-season, there's definitely a lot of questions there. And Babip, obviously, like you mentioned, is the big talking point, right? He's the person who went over to North America, has 2 back-to-back championships, one here in Oceania as well, has been to Worlds 2 years in a row respectively, and has been at the top of the table whenever he was a competitive player for upwards of 3 years now. So him returning to Peace, returning to the runners-up of the tournament also, giving them that extra boon does make it a very exciting split to watch from day one.
Yeah, we've had a couple of conversations, Skimmy, about who is going to be the new king of the jungle. I cannot wait for that Peace and Pentanet rematch of the grand final just to see how Pabu fares up against Babip.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, right? Because we talk about how competitive those two were, all split long, then goes into the grand finals. That game really, well, that series really could have gone to a game 5, right? Thankfully for my voice, at least, it didn't. But, you know, we see how charismatic Pabu is in terms of what he's able to do, in terms of his aspect of understanding, then delivering in the game and setting his team up for success. You look at Babip, you'd imagine, you know, much the same, right? You know, having Lisa there on the side is going to be fantastic for them too. I mean, they've got so much depth in their roster, and I think that's just really what this whole split 2 is going to come down to. You look at a lot of these teams, I think apart from Pensnet, pretty much most teams have picked up players. They've got diversity. Not only can that be used in, you know, scrims, practicing, drafting, all the rest of it, there's going to be, I'm sure, some rotations, you know, happening as the weeks go by.
I'm sure there will be. Now, speaking of rotations, we're on a brand new patch, so let's bring up the patch notes. And Rusty, I'm going to throw this one over to you. Tell me what's so interesting about this Ezreal change. And there's a quote here as well, which I believe you specifically asked for.
Yeah, it was a funny quote to me because, right, like this patch change for him on 11.11 isn't huge. He's actually a result of the item that you can see below him being Divine Sunderer. So it was just really funny to read the patch notes and see Ezreal is struggling across all levels of play, while he is currently the 2nd most picked AD carry across all of the top competitive leagues. So Ezreal's definitely come into fruition as a result of Divine Sunderer, and also got a nice little buff on top of all of that. So you'll probably see a lot of Ezreal, a lot of Varus at the moment as well, a lot of potential Senna in there also while we're throwing Varus out, because that pairs with the Tahm Kench. And Divine Sunderer has done a lot for the meta.
Certainly has. A lot of on attack damage there you're talking about. The fact, obviously, also is that Ezreal, just to sort of date your mind back to patches of old, you know, you had this blue Ezreal variation with the Frozen Heart buff too, then, you know, he's picking that up as well. Tanky, mobile, doing so much damage, so much cooldown reduction that he can be as nimble as possible and be so oppressive. And not to forget that, you know, with the Hex Flash being disabled too, might bring Rise to more Enchanter supports. So be interesting to see what the take is down here in OS.
Well, we have actually missed a patch here at the DoorDash LCO as well, which was the patch played at MSI, which introduced a few of those jungle changes as well with the timers, etc. And now the whole meta's slightly shift to a bit more gank heavy, or trying to fill in the times while your camps are on cooldown. So that's something we need to talk about as well, and just generally where the game is in terms of a state. Rusty, do you want to take the reins here and have a chat about, you know, let's start things off with Viego and Gwen.
Yeah, I mean, patch 11.11, Viego, Gwen are both enabled. We've seen, if you've watched any other competitive region, they're pretty much permanently in the drafts, whether picked or banned. There's maybe 1 or 2 games I saw, I think, in the LCS where it wasn't considered. because Gangplank's starting to become this other thing up there. But Viego, Gwen, insane champions in their own right, insane dueling potential, lots of outplay, and they're flashy, which is exactly what, when you see a new champion come out and you're like, that's confusing, a pro player is probably going to play it. That really is just the recipe at the moment. And the whole meta has shifted with it, Mac, right? You're the jungler, so you'd be keenly aware of a couple of these changes, but we've got new things like Xin Zhao coming in, Rumble being played as well, and a lot more damage, I would say, Mac, in that position.
Yeah, and I think a little bit less Morgana as well, which we saw a whole lot of in terms of the pick ban rate at Worlds, at MSI rather. But also, Hex Flash has been admin disabled solely because there's been a little bug that's come around.
Yeah, a bit annoying to obviously deal with because it adds so much to the kit of champions like Nautilus, Fresh, Alistair, to name a few in terms of those hard engaged supports, right? You talk about Hella Blades being nerfed too, so a few champions now opting for some different rune choices, as I mentioned before. Maybe that means that with the rise or the continued rise of, say, Tahm Kench Senna, it does mean that, you know, in China support's a little bit more free to pick up. As a result, you know, you're not going to be as susceptible. There's been plenty of discussions, right, where you say these enchanters or poke supports will win the lane until they lose, right? When a hook goes out, a forced engage comes out. Going to be a little bit harder for that to happen as a result. So we've always had our own take on the meta down here, right? Draw inspiration from what the rest of the big regions are doing, but there's always those players that fall to comfort, and we've got some interesting comfort picks here.
I'm interested to see if we just see, you know, non-stop ganks now. I really hope it will. I think it's going to be much more fun to watch the game in general, and even just way less of those sort of carry farming oriented junglers, which are a lot of the ones I play, but I did start to move across to, you know, your
Kha'Zix.
I got Kha'Zix, yeah, that's fun. He's a good time as well. But, you know, Kha'Zix, his viability when you look at competitive League of Legends is much worse, because a lot of the time, you know, these players are going to know, hey, I'm just going to stand next to my teammate, and then Kha'Zix is, you know, nowhere near as strong, and he's just going to be squished like the bug he is. So that's essentially that. But let's move forward to From the Fans. All right, it's my favorite segment, and I hope it's your favorite segment as well. So make sure you at LCO on Twitter, on or /LCO on Twitch. You know, post your memes in chat, and I'm sure I'll take a peek over there and see them at some point. That's always one of my favorite things, to see you guys interacting with us as well. You know, go follow us on all the socials, but make sure you're creating the damn content. We don't care what it is. Just get it up on Twitter, because we love content and we love to see what you guys at home are working on. I don't know, throw your best banter at us. Tell me I'm never going to make it to gold, let alone to silver 3. I don't know, go yell at Rusty because he never believed in Pentanet. You know, we already did a lot of that, but we can never let him live that down. And Skimmy, he's just been off in Azeroth or something. I don't know. He's just in the wrong world right now.
That's a good call. That's a good call. And I don't know what kind of obligations we have to mention other games. So I don't know. Maybe we move swiftly past that discussion point.
Of course. Now that brings us one step closer to the game. So let's have a quick look at the schedule and what games are going to be coming up for you guys tonight. Of course, here at 6 p.m. we do have Gravitas taking on Legacy to kick things off. 7 p.m. we have Peace and the Chiefs going head-to-head. That should be a banger to see how Peace is currently sitting with that new roster swap, and where the Chiefs are, because they had a very strong end to last split. Now, over at 8 p.m, we get to see the returning champs Pentanet taking on Direwolves, which again is going to be another banger matchup. And at 9 p.m, to round off the night, we've got Order and Mammoth going head-to-head to see what they've brought into Split 2. Rusty, what is your pick of the bunch? What are you most excited to see this evening?
Oh, I was torn between game 2 and 3, if I'm going to be honest with you. So I'm going to go with game 1. So,
What?
I couldn't decide, so I've picked a completely different option, all right?
I love it.
And I think one of the reasons for that is you'll see it once we get to our predictions. I'll talk more about game 1. I think it's going to be banger.
Okay. Well, what about you, Skimmy? Any sort of standout games here? You're looking at that third game, maybe. I think that's what I'm very excited for here.
Those 3 games, right? I'm sure I sort of share the same sentiment as Razzie for the first matchup, but I actually look at the second game in particular more so because the Fort Chiefs had this insanely cool playoffs run where they'd been leveling up, as had the Direwolves too. They got into playoffs, they 3-0 Order, then they take down Direwolves in convincing fashion too, and maybe just a little bit of burnout as they lost to Peace in the semi-finals 3-1. So I think they're a team that have kept to their core roster, never actually changed anything around last season. They had the rookie to split in Kisei, but a fantastic opening season. So for me, it's a case of saying, all right, like how's the off season for you guys? Do you pick up from where you left off, or do you need to sort of find that motion once again?
Well, let's have a chat about that once we do get into the Chiefs and Peace game. But for now, let's have a quick chat about Gravitas and Legacy and where they're going to be heading. Let's talk Gravitas first. And I'm going to throw this one over to you, Rusty. You did say you were very excited for this first matchup, and I want to know why.
So I think because Gravitas and Legacy haven't changed a crazy amount, there are 2 new players on Gravitas, but they've been spoken towards as potentially just big upgrades. The reason I'm interested with this team and excited actually to see what they've gone through in the off-season is the core was their best players. And they had some limitations individually with, like, say, champion pools and play styles that time is actually a solution for. So Kyosei, for example, was basically an RE1 trick who had to default to things like Karma afterwards. And just wasn't nearly as good. But now he's had over a month to actually sit in that time chamber that is solo queue, and one of the only uses for solo queue is that you can practice new champions. So he's had a lot of time to, sit there and practice. And I do think that they'll be able to come out and show marked improvements between Split 1 when it ended and Split 2 now when it starts.
I know that we have a lot of very excited individuals in Twitch chat, particularly to see Thomas Shen back in the server. He didn't get a whole lot of playtime in Split number 1, so let's see what he can provide for Gravitas in Split 2. And speaking of providing, I think Gravitas have some content for us, so let's take a look at this.
From doing it.
Kaio's just charges right on in there with the ultimate. Sybil's done. There's nothing you can do here to provide a little bit of appeal, but not quite enough to keep Legacy safe. And Incursio, well, maybe he'll look to turn it around. Styled follows up.
He needs to be here. Hecarim stuns. Hecarim looking for a flanking angle.
Oh, hits the side steal! Oh no, Azus has done it! TP's in, finds a kill, deletes Vengeance.
Rush away there because he thought the Pivot Storm might have been enough to try and turn things around. That's a massive knockup with the free as a result. Mammoth turning things around, but Gravitas doing even better.
That's the Piglet show!
Look at him go. Skimmy, absolutely loving the back.
That's my jam, bro. That's literally what I sent to Rusty before we go live. And I'm like, this is how you get hype. This is how you become a play-by-play. You just live and breathe the rowdy music.
I can confirm that, and then I went and watched twice music instead. Sorry, Skimmy.
Equally as good, mate.
You love to see it. And look, good form on the Gab, but there's probably room for some improvement there. Or Huck, whatever you were going for there. I couldn't really tell. Not actually a connoisseur myself, but you can tell me that I'm wrong later. Now, someone else that's going to tell me that I'm wrong is Legacy, because I'm going to say instantly they're bad. And I want you guys to say, I'm wrong. Quick, say it. Get me out of the hole. Rusty, say it.
Apparently you're wrong.
Wow.
Yes, wrong. Thanks, Rusty. Oh, damn. Now tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why Legacy are going to have a stunner of a season.
Incursio. That's why.
Okay.
The man in front of you, in the middle of the screen, Incursio, is a star player for the team. Actually, I do think most of it comes down to the bottom lane. When I look at Legacy, unironically, what is it about them that means they'll have a good split? The improvement that we saw from Styled and ML was insane. I believe they got our most improved when we were doing awards. If they didn't, they should have. That's now my stance on it. And I think that they have the potential to, get Legacy over the line and push them towards that actual playoff spot that they were so close to getting.
Yeah, plenty of consistency coming out from them time and time again. We definitely harped a lot on Incursio being this AD assassin fanatic, right? Flexing between the Zeds and the Yones and whatnot, and just doing whatever he can to try and show off and pop off, much like the solo queue monster that he's been known to be. Katarina obviously coming into the fray of things too. One game caused a bit of pain and problems for our opposition and got permabanned away as a result. You look at Sybil, been around for a fair bit of time, a lot of experience under his belt, plenty of preference towards the early game junglers. You talk about Elise, Jarvan 4, for instance, and then Winter. Winter's always been the exciting one for me, right? When we've for their coach interviews with Series, we're saying like, why are we seeing Victor and Azir top lane? He says, look, this guy, it's comfort for him. He's going to do weird and wacky things, and that makes it very hard for a team to prepare for.
I'm just what I want to really talk about is, are we going to see Cat this season, or is it going to be banned every single game? And also, while we're on the topic, any patch notes or any meta changes that could affect Katarina's pick and ban rate?
I think I've ever paid attention to Katarina in the patch notes. Like, I could go search for you if you want, but I'm pretty sure nothing will stop Incursio from playing it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say no as a safe bet, and then I could go look it up for you later.
No worries. Well, we do have our wonderful side lane reporter, Nat T, coming in to the mix. Nat, how you doing? Quick, first time we've finally got to see you this split. Tell us, what did you do in the off-season?
First of all, hi. And what did I do in the off split? I played probably more League of Legends in about 2 months than I had in the past 6 years of having played League. So I had a lot of fun, played ranked for the first time, got myself a rank, so that was interesting, and just kind of really enjoyed playing support Morgana. Don't hate me.
May I ask what rank you got?
I got Silver 4.
Okay. Well,
you're the same rank. Yeah.
We are exactly the same rank. I climbed to Silver 3, had a little bit of a lost streak, and now I'm not doing so well in Silver 4.
I'll race you. All right, to gold. Let's go.
Let's go. It's on. This split, it can get to gold first.
There we are. Maybe we can make some kind of wager again, but that can be discussed behind the scenes, and maybe we'll come to a conclusion there. But you have two wonderful gentlemen down on the sidelines. Who do you have for us now?
I do. I'm going to be joined by two of my two favorites from last split, Kyose and Incursio. Guys, you know, having you guys match up for the first time in our first game of Split 2, I had to ask you both on. But how are you feeling, Incursio? I'll start with you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm excited to play Split 2. It's been a while. Been practicing some new champs. It's a good time.
I'm looking forward to it. New champs is very ominous. Kyose, what about you? How are you feeling coming into Split 2?
Probably a lot more confident because we've had more time to practice and grow as a team. But yeah.
Well, with that new confidence, what are you guys hoping to get just mainly out of the first round? We'll start with that. What are your goals and hopes for Gravitas in round 1?
To display our improvement, probably. Not necessarily to win, but yeah.
Okay.
But winning
is
an objective. Yeah.
You're like, we want to play our best and we happen to win from it, then so be it. What about you and Curzio? We're a legacy looking to maybe even just place for the first round.
We're looking to get that fat W, obviously. What is that question? Are you kidding me? But yeah, like, we want to show that we've improved anyways as well, but we're obviously looking to get that fat W, you know?
What have you guys been doing over the break to ensure that you are going to get that fat W?
Just like, I've been playing a lot of solo queue, I guess, but like exams is coming the way as well a little bit, so I would like to play more, but I think we've got enough practice, and everyone else has been playing a bit more as well, so I think we're prepared.
And Kyose, we just heard Incursio say he's going to be playing a few more champs. He's been practicing them. Are we going to see a lot more than just the Ahri from you? Yeah. Are we going to have to make Rusty take back his words that you're a Ahri one-trick wonder?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I played Ahri for fun, but like this split kind of moving towards tryharding and actually having like winning and getting to playoffs as a more of an objective. So yeah, no longer an Ahri one-trick, but like Incursio, uni is also getting in the way like of exams and stuff, so maybe I could have practiced more champs, but yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys are going to bring out in the very first game. It feels like I don't even know the teams anymore, and thank you so much for joining me. Good luck.
Likewise, thanks.
Thank you.
See ya.
Look, I can't wait to see what champion pool Incursio has now, because we got to see a couple of pocket picks last season, and hopefully we get more of that this season.
You will. I can promise you that he's been playing Cat and Yone in the off-season back. I don't know if he's got new ones.
I want him to prove you wrong. I want him to just be coming out with like the most obscure mid laner you've seen and like doing well on it. And you're like, well, I got to take back my words now.
Well, it could all start here and it could all go well. Let's have a look at what we think is going to happen in match 1 of the day. Well, match 1 of the split 2. So let's bring up these predictions and then I'll ask you guys about them. Rusty, go with you first. Oh, you're not even there.
Oh,
Didn't want yours anyway.
I'll ask you, Mac, why have you gone with Legacy? Let us know. You've gone the same as Juves and Elfish Guy, it appears.
Oh, I've been given the secret. So there's 2 pages. It's not just this page. It's you guys are all apparently on the second page.
Oh, we're meant to flame them first.
We'll go with me because you're all still hidden for the time being. So Legacy, I did say they were bad, which is a complete lie. I just was doing it for a content bit and kind of didn't work, but it's all right. But I just love what we saw from them last split, sorry. And we had, there were so many moments where things could have gone so right for them as well. So many upsets potentially on the cards, and then things would just go wrong towards the last sort of moments. And we did hear that they were working through that through the off season. So I really, really hope coming into Split 2 they do have something in their bag of tricks, and they've managed to iron out all the crinkles, managed to figure out exactly how to close out those games and get those fat W's, which Incurzio was talking about. Now, Rusty, you're up. What's going on?
I'm the only one who's gone for Gravitas, I believe, here out of everyone. So to stake my claim on the top of the leaderboard early with tips, I've decided to do something different because I think we actually all have very similar tips tonight. That is legitimately my reason. But if I was to give you a reason in the game, I'm going to say it's just going to be Thomas Shen gap. Just trusted the Thomas Shen.
Okay.
Okay.
What about you, Skimmy?
Yeah, no, I was just going to go for the fact that Legacy had these insanely good early games. If they find the early game success, sometimes you flip a coin and hope that they can find a good fight in the mid game and don't just completely fall apart. But for the most part, they're a team that want to be aggressive in the first 15 minutes. If they do get ahead in those first 15 minutes, you are more lean towards them, taking the game as a result. And I think these matches against the likes of Gravitas and Mammoth, which is where it's been the most spicy, is where both teams are going to look to start their season strong.
And what about you, Nat? Why have you gone for Legacy as well?
I mean, Rusty said, I think most of our tips are pretty similar tonight, and it's really based off of what we saw last split. I'm going to assume that both teams have kind of made progression over the break, but maybe it's the same amount of progression. And I just think Legacy compared to Gravitas last split just looked a lot stronger, and hopefully the thing that they've improved on is being able to close out those games.
Well, I guess we'll see once we do get into the game. I do just want to point out, with the jungle changes, I feel like Sybil is one of those players where it's just going to affect him in a positive manner. He seems to play a lot of those champs where he does go for the early ganks and you need to get those snowballs. So maybe this is his split to shine.
It's actually 100% true. Elise, being a gank jungler, Lee Sin's one of his champions. He did play the Viego, I believe, as well in the last split in that 1 week that we had. And he'll no doubt be able to play the Xin Zhao also. So I think you're spot on there. This probably is the Sybil meta. And for Akano on the other side, I haven't got a clue.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, my friends here on the desk, guess what time it is? It is time for the first match of the DoorDash LCO, and I'm damn excited. Don't you look at your watch, because we're going to be getting into it right bloody now.
Decoy hits the 3-man up.
The king of the jungle is back.
Mammoth turning things around.
Anything but playoffs is unacceptable. Internet may have once split one, but now it's our turn.
The Chiefs find the fight that they've been looking for.
We're just here to send it.
Zappa is unstoppable.
PGG, your reign is over.
That's going to be the first Classico going the way of Chiefs.
That was clean from Only.
That's the Piglet Show.
Dragku, what an engage. And Curzio did. Pisa looking confident.
I'm here to take us to Worlds.
I'd like to see you try.
Pentanet turn onto the Nexus. Pentanet are not done yet.
Well, here we go, Rusty. It's been a hot minute since we've been in these seats doing this kind of job, but we're back. We're back bringing you the second half of the DoorDash LCO, and it's going to start here with Legacy Esports taking on Gravitas.
Yeah, I mean, this is an exciting game for me, Skibby. It's just been one, we're back, finally, like you mentioned. Just excited to actually get back into League of Legends casting one more time. It always feels like you take a week away from anything and you just forget how to do it. So definitely excited to have these players carry us through a great game of League while we find our footing one more time.
That's the way, mate, as we look at this one and get to a little bit of grips as to what the preference is for these two teams in terms of pick ban. Renekton still continues to be that insanely strong champion on a global front, so no surprises that Gravitas want to remove that one away from Winter, which would be quite competent on it. We know that Safa loves to, when given the opportunity, play the carry-style top lane. If you're thinking of Irelia, for example, being one of those staples. Doesn't want to be on tank duty if he can afford to. On the opposite hand, though, for Legacy, they're now considering a first pick Karma, which we know, as much as we say Kiyose loves the Ahri, he's very adept at playing the Enchanters mid too.
Yeah, Karma also a flexible champion in a sense. We have seen some bottom lane matchups where Karma is the support of choice. Ezreal is actually a champion that can be coupled with that. We've also occasionally seen things like the Kog'Maw Karma, you know, that go into bottom lane together when Lulu has been banned away.
Yeah.
We'll obviously await to see what AD carried is that Legacy choose to go for. Right now, we need to take stock of one important fact for Mac's sake. That is that there is no mid lane champions banned. Incursio is in his wheelhouse right now. He's got the Cat, he's got the Yone, he's got the Sylas as well as an option. So there's a lot there that the mid laner of Legacy may want to play, and I think with Rumble locked in, probably the Yone, probably some physical damage maybe will be seen, unless of course he's playing the Karma and has thrown me early.
Certainly, but it would be a little bit off-brand for what we know as Incursio's strength. You talk about what are those strongest AD carries in the meta so far, but Ezra already locked in on the right-hand side. The response here from Legacy is they're going to go for the Varus. So lots of poke from either end of the stick right now in terms of making sure that the fight starts off on good terms. The equalizer here from the Rumble, which I suppose it was very prominent at MSI. There were conflicting opinions as to how good it was, but forget that point for 2 seconds, Rusty, because we have ourselves a LeBlanc.
Yeah, LeBlanc going to be locked in here. Now, this does work surprisingly well. That's an insane 2v2 that Akano and Kiyose are going to have. And when you put a LeBlanc with an Ezreal style of composition, it's actually quite good at sieging and poking. LeBlanc a little bit underrated in what she can provide for sieges. So I think Gravitas so far, the LeBlanc third is a little bit peculiar. Sure. It does indicate like you're now about to see some mid lane target bans away from Incursio. And very curious to see where he chooses to go if this is now like a Yone afterwards. One other thing here as well is that Viego, I believe, is still ready to be picked and probably is a champion that Incursio's put time into.
Yeah, so he is. Can be flexed in 3 different lanes as well. And so it's definitely an option that Incursio could decide to consider. We talk about the fact that Katarina's been banned away. Well, Camilla's been banned away from Safa. No surprises. Another bit of a pick towards that mid lane by removing one of his other most popular champions in the Zed. Begs the question now for Legacy, what else do they want to remove from this one? Do they want to really focus on removing split pushes and hard divers? We bring up those 2 mid laners on your screen right now. Other picks that come to mind for Safa, Irelia, Nocturne, Vayne. Well, Nocturne's already been removed as well. It is going to be the Irelia. So 2 clear individuals to target.
You've also got things like the Lee Sin. Remember, top lane's become much more diverse lately. It's a very interesting place to be looking at for the champions that people are going to consider. Set and Nara also champions that we're seeing a decent amount of up there. Jace, we've seen people attempt to play it in Oceania to limited success, I think it's fair to say. And Gangplank, something that we've also been seeing rise up as actually one of potentially the best top laners in all matchups, in all situations. So I do think that Safa has options, but like you highlight as well, these bans are targeted towards him for a reason. And the reason is he has a limited champion pool, or at least did last split.
Be interesting as a result now to see what he decides to go into with that Braum now being locked in to get themselves at least some kind of disengage, peel protection, as well as engage. Maybe not as reliable as the other hard engage supports, but nonetheless is still going to be there. You mentioned before Viego was up and available with that champion pool narrowed, and with him still being there for the taking, it seemed almost likely that that was going to come on through with the set as the 5th and final here for Legacy.
Yeah, so now we've got, of course, confirmation of the Karma going into the bottom lane, unless it's set being flexed there with Emelg, and Viego can still go between both of those lanes. So we have like soft confirmation on what these players are going to be picking in their respective roles. But the good thing about the blue side being as flexible as we just stated is that it's a harder time to pick into it in Gravitas' side of the coin. It is a Braum 4th, which is what we highlight before, and then Aatrox in top lane. Aatrox is still a good top lane champion, fits the meta decently well right now. And they didn't need any kind of crazy damage mix with the 2v2 they have in mid-jungle. So something that's self-sustaining. Braum, to me, is the one that I think, most worried about as to how it fits into the comp. It is super good with Xin Zhao and Ezreal. LeBlanc does also weave auto attacks. So in terms of stun passive skimmy, it's fantastic. I just think that Legacy can really just move past the Braum and kill everything around the Braum if Gravitas fall behind.
And that has to be the biggest question mark right now, Rusty. There's no denying the passive power that this champion offers, but in terms of the team fight potential, you're looking at getting, out-poked from the Varus and the Karma, the Rumble that can come on through. If you're looking to try and do a bit of a dance around a major objective, you might even get that chance to unleash the passive or hit the ultimate to try and lock people in place and determine that the fight is won on your terms. So there's interesting talking points in that regard. I think if that isn't going to be changed, we saw a teleport ignite on the mid in Curcio Viego. So very much an all-in fashion, something that we've seen happen with Gwen in the top lane too, just to assert your authority and come out of laning phase with these huge snowballing leads.
So the first thing that we mentioned, like 2 picks in to Champion Select, was that the 2v2 from Gravitas was quite good. LeBlanc Xin Zhao has pretty insane kill threat. Lots of lockdown from the double chains that can come out of a LeBlanc. And if you have crowd control and Xin Zhao's able to actually get those 3 auto attacks off for free, easiest ganks of your life and usually a high chance of getting kills. So no flash for Incursio does make that more difficult to survive, but that does actually up his 1v1 potential against just Kiyose or just Akano, if they meet. And going to side lanes later, of course, against Saffron on that Aatrox is going to be a powerhouse running around on the Rift. It's about getting there. It's about getting through the first 6 levels of the game, having that dash, that execute that can come out of the Viego, couple that with Sybil on his Rumble, and there is a lot of potential kill threat there. It's just respecting the windows of your opponent.
Yeah, and as you touched on, respecting the fact that there is so much kill pressure, vision is going to be of paramount importance, because if you go wandering in the wrong place at the wrong time, there is a lot of assassination potential on the cards. Here we go for the very first game of Split 2. The LCO is back, and it's Legacy taking on Gravitas.
Most definitely is. Of course, we have seen just quickly a change from the Ignite to the Flash, so we can at least confirm that mid lane is running the standard summoner spells. And Kiyose also going to be matching that one with a teleport of his own. And no surprises here, you would say. Nothing crazy to shake up the first game of the LCO, Skimmy. We've just got fan starts.
Certainly do. Nothing too surprising. Both teams filling each other out, making sure that nothing is going to go to amiss. We tend to see later into the split, especially in playoffs, those crazy level 1 shenanigans to try and get that slight lead come into effect. Speaking of, as the state of 5-man fan out does come to a bit of a close with camps spawning, maybe a delayed invade here. Out goes the sweeper, looking to try and steal away the red buff for Gravitas. As Sybil is going to start on his chickens. Has no idea this is going on the way. No vision, no ward, no protection from his bot lane too. And Akano, the new face on this roster, off to a flying start.
Yeah, he's going to be able to take away that red buff. Nice little invade. It doesn't feel like Sybil was unaware of it, however. You can see the caution pings go towards that red buff. So at the end of the day, this is known. You can see that ward also spotting him. The cheeky attempt at a level 2 in mid is actually thwarted by the ward dying in front of his own eyes.
Certainly is. And Rusty, as we get ourselves amped up and ready for this one, we do actually have the coach of Gravitas, Poltron, on standby. Mate, it's been a hot minute since we've actually got to catch up with you. You're obviously a feature in that game, that victory when you were playing Shaco up against Pentanet. How's life been treating you?
Yeah, it definitely has been. Still pretty happy I took down Pentanet in the final game. Life's been good. Very happy to, get back into Split 2. Hopefully we can show off all our improvement throughout Gravitas this match.
Beautiful, and I mean that's exactly where I want to start the conversation, right? A big off season, 3 months away from the action. How has the off season been for you guys? I mean, has there been any particular focus or any area that you've been really looking to try and say this is what we need to put all our eggs into?
So I would say I think Split 1 really showed where our weaknesses were, both in draft and in game. And over the last couple months, even the last month for us, we really honed in on everyone's individual performance and how we could up that to the next level so we could take on the top teams and then build up a bit of our team dynamic. I think over the last 3 weeks, we've had some really, really inspiring improvements for our team. I do think we'll end up being one of the teams to make it into playoffs. I just hope to see our team do really well today against Legacy.
Yeah, I mean, that's an exciting call because the point I want to bring up is the fact that you have a 10-man roster, 2 people in every single position. Obviously so competitive. How do you actually manage that in terms of, you know, different games, different rosters, and different ideas from scrims translating onto the stage?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would say all our ideas we share across amongst ourselves. We try it in scrims. We see if any other regions have also adopted the same idea. And honestly, we just go with what works. I would say in our last couple weeks of scrims, we've just been doing, you know, our same comps, the same sort of play style over and over, getting into good habits, you know, making sure it's something that we can really dish out the punishment on.
And that's what I look forward to, mate. You make the big call, say you guys looking to try and get into playoffs. I'll be watching with keen eyes to see if that is the end result, but no doubt we'll be catching up as the season continues. So welcome back and all the best.
Thanks.
All right, Rusty. Just as that was happening,
Just a bit.
A couple of kills happen on our screen.
Yeah, I mean, Gravitas actually made the play bottom. They used heal to walk through about 75.5 minions. Flashed and missed their Braum queue and basically lost in a 2v3 with summoners burn to start it. Not the way that you want to kick off your campaign in Split 2. The aggression I like. Unfortunately, the execution wasn't quite there and they were stuck when the teleports came in to lock them. And Sybil, of course, in the right area. So tragic start, I think it's fair to say, for Gravitas in the bottom lane and for Akano in the jungle. Sybil now going to be miles ahead of him with that extra kill gold working towards his item.
Well, speak of, that's actually going to be a 1-for-1 trade in a 2v1 that, once again, Gravitas are forcing. So even still, Rusty, Legacy are getting the better of their opposition very early on.
Yeah, 100% they are, because Sybil doesn't lose tempo moving around the map looking to clear camps if possible. Unfortunately, there is no Krug camp for him to look at right now. But Kyose does get the kill, does put himself quite far ahead on this LeBlanc overall. Now, LeBlanc not having the Ignite does still make that kill threat a little bit harder in the one-on-one sense. And I think Azin Zhao is pretty comfortable just throwing himself at people and dying as long as the kills happen. Which is the most important thing overall, is now we're looking at objectives.
Certainly are, and this is what Gravitas need to do to try and stem the bleeding very early on. You can see the annoying factor of when a poke bottom lane actually, gets ahead, gets an item advantage. Just look at the power from afar that they're able to dish on out and really force their opposition into decisions that maybe they aren't too keen to take otherwise. Bit of a collapse taking place in the river here. A pincer move from mid to bot, and Kyose finds a 2-man stun, dashes on in, looks for the kill, falls on down, but it's a 1-for-1 nonetheless. Going to be Star picking up a kill, then Karma comes into the fray. TP coming in from the top side as Gravitas look to try and answer back and pick up the pieces. Sybil not level 6 just yet, has a flash, has a stun, has a chance to run away, but falls on down. As it's going to be everything coming to a close at the very first dragon.
And I have to say, if we watch a replay of that one, I'll be looking towards Safa and Winterer in top lane, because the teleport was a little bit late there from the Aatrox, but still in time enough to ensure that those trades do come back. Legacy look to make the play. They look to force the initiative. They say Incursio is level 6 on his Viego. They have kill threat, they have outplay, and that immediately backfires as Gravitas actually stand and fight them back. And that was really well done from their squad overall to well and truly keep them in this game and show that they are still here to fight.
They are, and it's going to be explosive. It's what we tend to expect when we see Incursio in the mid lane. Kyose showcasing us his very first LeBlanc game and finding good success with it as the boys come in to back him up from bot to top. Leave Ezreal on an island, one of the best AD carries at doing the 1v2 dance. And they find success in mid again.
Yeah, both Ezreal and Varus are pretty comfortable sitting in side lanes, just throwing abilities at minion waves. Of course, this Varus is huge, so Starl going to have a pretty good time for himself in that 1v1. Incursio, it's just so good to have him back, isn't it? It's just so... This is just Incursio playing his League of Legends, Gravitas playing against it. We said it in draft, we're seeing it now actually play out. He's 1-3 on this Viego. No flash, no teleport from this point onwards. Does not want to die again, or it could be dire for him.
Certainly could be. Very much a huge emphasis on staying in this little stasis form, guaranteeing the stun charge winds up and connects, because if it doesn't, he gets punished so damn easily like that. The range advantage between a Xin and a LeBlanc, even if you had flash, you're probably still dead there.
Yeah, look, Xin Zhao's changes to the W have made him quite a specimen as he runs around on the Rift that has that kill threat. And what more can you say, Skibby? We talk about it in Chebs, like we see it play out multiple times now in mid lane. Their 2v2 is nasty. Sybil not really going to be able to stop that one from happening at all. And quite simply, if the chains connect, the Viego dies. And if he has no flash, that is almost just a 100% confirmation. Very well played here from Gravitas, picking on the wound and making sure that it stays behind and that they get ahead.
Certainly are. They're basically saying, well, bot lane didn't go the way that we were hoping for, and yes, Varus is insanely huge to start this game off with, but look, we've got other areas of expertise, other areas that we want to try and put our eggs into, try and focus the power to, you know, exert pressure elsewhere. You look at topside, for instance, there's a 13 CS lead here for Sapphir's Aatrox. Out goes the ultimate, the chain disruptions do not connect, but out goes the equalizer as well. Floppy soaks it all up, flashes away, the Tether connects, the arrow empowered and aggravated picks up a third kill here for Styled.
Yeah, the empowered Q damage is huge coming out of Styled on this Varus, and they do get themselves a nice kill. The chains, I believe, actually did connect, even though he dashed away, and locked him on top of the Rumble ultimate there. So Thomas Shen pretty much stuck mid.
Revenge story takes place in mid lane now as Kyosei pops the clone, can't distort away, can't dash and juke and jive, and flashes are burnt. But it's Sybil that answers back and finds himself a bit of success in the mid lane.
I mean, it may be... Oh, my God. Okay, good night. Style just gets the snipe out. Thomas Shen in the bin, unfortunately, in this bottom lane 2v2. Well done from Legacy. It just doesn't stop, Skibby.
There's no time for macro.
Oh
there is no time for macro, Rusty. We are just all about punching on, and all in here from Akano. Floppy wants to try and get a tag. Doesn't get an assist, but gets to flex his mic because he was there on wards in rotational power. Legacy says, forget about our mid laner. We need to try and even up the odds here with at least one of these neutral objectives. Dragon goes the way of Gravitas, but Legacy pick up the Rift Herald.
Here's my theory, right? This is the perfect situation for Legacy. Styled is ahead, Sybil is ahead, and Incursio is getting closer and closer to his Yasuo power spike, you know, of the 10 deaths. This is basically best case scenario for Legacy, if you ask me. They're actually doing quite well. And Winter not playing a mage in top lane. I don't think we really mentioned that, Skimmy, but he's up there on that top lane champion, just punching it out.
Certainly is. He's playing what you'd consider standard by our metrics for him. He's looking to try and be a bit of a powerhouse come these late game team fights. He looks to try and jump on in. That's exactly what Kyosei's doing, followed by Akano. Wherever you roam, our point from level 1. Quite honestly, wasn't it, Rusty? If you rotate on vision, you've got to be so damn sure that that's the right angle to go.
We've watched one game of Xin Zhao in the LCO, and I'm convinced that that's not allowed. Just watching the dash distance that this guy has, the spear goes 1,000 units, I believe, with his W now. Wind becomes lightning. Bottom.
Thomas Shen in a 1v2. Out goes the... Oh, it actually connects. True Shot Barrage makes it a 1-for-1. It is going to be Sybil that picks up the kill as the TP comes in through. Kyosei maybe regretting that one. Doesn't have flash, but it is a LeBlanc at the end of the day. Stopwatch comes on through, buying time, hoping that Amelga's is there just for an empowered shield to buy him some time. It's just not going to be enough. Rotations from top to mid to bot to everywhere. And Sapphire going to try and hold mid lane at the expense of his top tier 1.
Yeah, he's going to be able to clear the wave, but has no pressure in that 1v1. And like you mentioned, top's going to get punched down a fair bit here by Winter, so some extra plates will fall. Bot lane, however, Thomas Shen, even before the Sundera was collected, is able to get that shutdown in a 1v2. Kyosei teleporting in just to try and assist does actually net them the second shutdown onto Sybil. This game is turning into a bit of a banger here. Just constant aggression, constant skirmishing, and both teams saying this is the meta that we want and playing it out.
Certainly are, and we're starting to see those mythic items come on through as a result to empower them just a little bit more. Make sure that those fights have the extra advantage. Try and benefit them. 10 kills to 10, more kills than minutes as we're only 13 into this game. Turret plates are still up and available. And there is a Herald in the possession here for Sybil. Currently pathing towards the bottom side of the map, with the second dragon having been picked on up. It's a case of, well, 2 turret plates remain, a Herald will be summoned, and that would guarantee the first turret goes their way.
Yeah, this turret is confirmed. You can see Styled walking away. No risks. Might try and get the gold if he can as a shared bounty from this Herald, but he doesn't really know where anyone is. We'll just be able to creep into range there, of course, and we'll get himself to 610 gold. So this is still a massive Varus who, at this point, you know, the bottom lane outer turret goes down, will most likely plant his feet in mid and give a lot of freedom to Incursio in a side lane. You know, be able to potentially set up a 1-3-1, which is something their composition will be quite happy about having, and perhaps put Legacy with their best foot forward for the next 5 to 10 minutes.
Next question now, where will these teams decide to break away from? They've been absent-mindedly playing the laning phase, much more interested in rotating and forcing some of their advantages to work their way. Once again, here comes Floppy. Only played one game last split for the team. Played a game of Fresh up against the Direwolves in an explosive game where we saw Gunkrab and the Tristana fighting from afar and causing all kinds of chaos and montage-worthy plays. But he's back here today, gets the starting spot. It's his chance to showcase what he can do here. And we had some questions about what this Braum would offer. Sure, the laning phase may have had some moments to shine, but we can see from the proof here that Styled is 4-1-4, an absolute monster to try and deal with. Interesting to see how the Braum fares in these later team fights.
Yeah, the Braum is mostly about the passive to me. You do, of course, have the door to stop some kind of Varus burst potentially as well. There is some merit in it, but overall it's just about making sure you've got follow-up and some protection for the rest of your team so that they can actually secure kills. Not to keep them alive, to enable them to do more damage and have crowd control to supplement that further. At this stage as well, one thing that we have seen with some of Viego's around the world, Skimmy, is they often like some tankier builds after their first item. You could do like Kraken Slayer, Wit's End and stuff like that we've seen. This is the shield bow straight up from Incursio, which does make sense when you're a 1-in-5 mid laner. You need to have a good first item that kind of covers all of your bases, and that shield will be crucial for him being able to team fight now.
Certainly will be. We've seen Blade of the Rune King come out time and time again as the first item, with a handful of champions opting for a standard item as opposed to rushing that mythic. As we see Sapphire defending his turret valiantly. 3 members topside looking to try and crash that in is the next area of focus. Style going to murder that mid lane. Doesn't exist at all. We're going to try and hit those high CS numbers and get that second power spike with the Prowler's Claw online. Slight nerf to the item.
Super careful. He has an item advantage here, Skimmy, so top lane is a place that could be dove, but it's a difficult dive.
He's held on. He's been very patient about it, but that may be his undoing. Flashes away, but the Tether still connects, buying as much time as he could there with the life leech, but it's just not going to be enough. A 1v3 situation, he can't do much about that one. Now bottom side, can Legacy find 2 from 2? Cross map plays, will it be their day? Here comes Floppy, hitting the pass, block him in place, sniping the kill from afar is Thomas Shen, and that's a third to his name.
Floppy doesn't even use his ultimate there, just tries to make sure the kill is secured, and unfortunately, Kyose has to flash away there, but they get the kill. It's a 1-in-6 Viego. Just having an absolutely tragic experience everywhere he goes. The enemy team's hunting me down. It's a bloody disaster, but end of the day, Legacy was still making waves on the other side of the map. Sapphire, I feel like he was caught in 2 minds about how to actually play that out top, because he chose to leave the turret, right? Didn't want to defend the structure, and then got caught after the turret died. So was in 2 minds, didn't make a decision fast enough, and was punished for it.
Certainly was. No protection afforded by the rest of his team. They were miles away. Burns the flash as well. Sliver still connected, so not ideal. Third Dragon's available here. It's going to be an Ocean Soul to play for. They would love to have that with Gravitas as they posture and pressure their opposition from afar. They've got themselves into the pit first. That means vision control is theirs. That means the ability to try and hone in and find that pick target comes a little bit easier, but we know, Rusty, that Legacy have a lot of retake tools.
Yeah, Legacy can definitely poke around with the Varus, see what they can get done. I think the Gravitas are preferential to that immediate all-in. Equalizes down.
Equalizes down a little bit too late, though the smite goes out. The Dragon's gone their way. In comes the suplex. Winter looking to try and bring as many people together. 4 people clap their hands together. Is that the difference maker? Kyose removes him, but there's just nobody else falling down after the fact. Gravitas finding 2 kills at Dragon and a little bit more. Summoners or not, they don't seem to mind. Hard engage when it works. Beats out poke.
I mean, that's the third Drake of the game. Legacy, speaking of 2 minds in this situation, don't get to the pit in time, so they lose the objective that they were there to contest, and then they lose their team members after the fact also. I mean, at the end of the day, perhaps you contest it earlier, perhaps you just don't go for that play at all and look towards breaking some mid lane damage, but now you've got a 7-2 Zinzao to deal with. You've got a massive Ezreal at this point with his items starting to come across. Only get stronger from here. And if you're walking into the belly of the beast that is Gravitas, you're probably walking into their compositional wants, right? Which is that you let them get a free engage.
Felt like they're a little bit conflicted on 2 minds there as to, are they low enough from the poke we've exhibited to try and go and force this fight? So the Equalizer come down with the majority of Gravitas still topped up and healthy. But in the end, allows them to continue, move through mid. and find some pressure now into the Herald. We'll run it back here first of all. It's Gravitas that start things off.
Yeah, it's an easy checklist here though, right? Like, have we poked them enough? Obviously not. Varus hasn't hit enough spells. Floppy also tries to delay Winter from getting into the fight. And by the time he gets in, yes, he makes 4 of them kiss. And, you know, fantastic face breaker there, but he's by himself. He's been split apart from the Braum ultimate, you know, from the zoning that can come out of a LeBlanc and, you know, the poke that can be thrown from an Ezreal. And the team's just not going to be there. You know, the equalizer was wasted, unfortunately. It was okay damage at the start, but didn't burn anyone alive, and Gravitas just get to successfully say, I mean, well played, Winterer, but not at the correct time.
Yeah, a bit of an unfortunate series of events there in terms of the overlapping to try and come together and hit the wombo combos you just love to see. 3 dragons there for Gravitas now. The second Herald goes the way of Legacy. Not the strongest, the second one, given how much gold is front-loaded into those turret plates, but they'll use it regardless, looking to try and break open more pressure on the map. As it stands, Rusty, they do lead in that factor. 2 turrets to 0.
Yeah, Legacy, you know, they have been retaining those gold leads. We've watched a couple of pretty crazy back-to-back skirmishes and some cross maps here. Overall, Legacy still retaining their strength. So while we talk about that last fight at the Dragon, don't let that, of course, cloud the fact that Legacy are in this one to win it still. That Herald can be summoned in mid when they find an opportunity, and with that, that'll be all 3 outer turrets gone. Opening the map up, of course, for Legacy quite significantly. And realistically, you know, if you look at the checklist of, like, what do we do better in the next fight? It's, well, you know, plant your feet sooner. You know, get some mid-priority perhaps sooner. Yeah. Actually get some Varus poke down sooner. Look for those opportunities and set up vision earlier. And maybe, just maybe, you will have a significantly better fight.
And vision seemed to be a big talking point there as well. If you break down that previous replay where Winterer goes in, members hiding in the shrub just outside the Dragon entrance. They're protected. They were down to 20%, but out of sight, out of mind. The poke seems to continue to be oppressive, and it's doing its job. Another Herald summoned, another turret falls down. That's the first 3 turrets. All the way here for Legacy as they continue to bully and march their assault through mids.
Equalizer.
Going through. World Breaker is used as Sappho just teasing and taunting from a flanking angle, but nothing comes of it.
Just a disengage that's going to be forced overall. At the end of the day, I don't think too much came from that. Legacy will take a blue buff, they'll disengage, get some jungle camps. It's still good, it's still a win overall for them, and they'll be very happy with that. It's about what you do on this next reset, right? All 3 outers dead. You want to actually establish a bit of control around the map, but you've got that looming threat, right, of the Dragon that's about to be up. It's the sole point as well here for Gravitas. It's a must contest. So you can't afford to waste too much vision control on the top side of the map near the Baron, which is also a potential thing that Gravitas may consider.
Yeah, if you take a quick stock take off that map right now, as you say, a bit of emphasis towards the top half of the map here for Gravitas to control wards. TP's coming on through. Dragon soon to spawn in under a minute. That's going to be Sefta looking to try and lead the line so far. Lock somebody in place. A lot of damage to come on through as a result. True Shot Barrage burnt early. Sybil and all kinds of problems. He's gone for the vision. He's just going to get punished for it. Winterer makes it a 1-for-1 trade, and the chains connect, and they spread like wildfire. Incursio hoping that he can find some resets right now as he transforms into a Braum. His time now to lay down the damage with the passive stacking up from afar. A second shutdown and more. Aatrox now Ezreal. Can he look to try and redeem himself from laning phase into team fights? He certainly can, as Legacy get the ace.
And Styled ML got just untouched through that fight as well. Insane damage coming out of the Varus, but Incursio, you know, getting reset after reset popping off. Has a bouncy down on this Viego. Remember, he was like 1-7 before this fight starts. And it starts with Sybil being caught. You know, the stasis does buy him a bit of time. Winterer once again, outstanding combo to get into the middle of the fight and into the mix. And, you know, this is the start of it for Incursio. Styled, still not touched. Walks in. Thomas Shen just gets abandoned. You know, Okado's looking for the Varus, and Safa flashes away. And I wonder if it's because he saw a Braum running at his teammate and thought, Ezreal will be fine. It's just a Braum. It wasn't. It was absolutely a Viego who just killed his AD carry in front of his own eyes.
He certainly did. And, I mean, really, if anything more, Sybil's typing in all chat there worth. Because, you know, it starts with him getting caught, drops the equalizer, goes gold, and it says, well, that's all I can do, boys. But the rest of the team, that time, finding the engage, the opening, and the damage to connect and complete what was the first ace of this game.
It really is the duality of the Incursio, right? You've got Incursio, fake Cursio. You never know what you're going to get at any given moment. It's not even game to game, it's minute to minute. Of course, that last fight was the fake Cursio. But still styled, quietly achieving all game, right? Has been my MVP for sure for Legacy if they're able to take this one out. Is contending with the Xin Zhao that, of course, can kill him quite successfully. No mobility, of course, is the champion of Varus. No summoner spells right now as well, so it's a dangerous time. But the good news is that Legacy have bought time. They have another dragon to fight over, but it's far enough away, you know, 3 minutes and 20 seconds that those summoners will be back up and ready, so they can be in fighting form then.
And that becomes the question, because for the most part, these teams have been pretty risk-averse when it's come to looking at the Baron. No real intention of going for it, despite there being vision in the area, to kind of get a bit of an idea as to whether teams are looking to try that one or not. You can see that Thomas Shen is well on his way now to getting that Frozen Heart to try and become the tanky blue Israel of old and look to try and mirror and match that of Styled. And even so, in previous skirmishes, if he is going to get dived on by the likes of, say, Incursio and Winterer, be a little bit more durable and less reliant on those summoner cooldowns. So
Sybil with the flank here.
We'll have to keep tabs on that, because that is another kill angle coming from the side. Seppa has no flash, going to look to try and dash, but in the end is going to fall on down as he's buying as much time as he can. And, well, the turret wasn't his best friend there. It wasn't really an even 2v2. In comes the TP, but down goes Kiyose. He finds one, he goes golden, he flashes away, he jukes, he drives, he hopes, but he cannot dream as Sybil takes him down in the bottom-hand side of the map. Mid lane, though, cross-map action. It's what you love to see. 18 kills to 17. More fights and more trades.
Yeah, don't blink. You'll miss a team fight somewhere. You know, they look for a skirmish bot lane. Suddenly there's a 3v3 happening in mid. It's this handshake League of Legends right now. And it is very entertaining to watch, if nothing else. We'll most likely see what happens in mid, because we saw everything that happens in bottom. Akano goes on to Winterer. Winterer constantly low health, you know, does great damage, always puts himself into the middle of the mix, but ML just a little bit too close, trying to help his set, trying to help his top laner stay alive. So nice little response there by Gravitas.
Certainly was. As you say, blink and you'll miss it. These teams really aren't respecting the fact of elegant macro. It's all about outplaying, displaying mechanics and skill checking wherever they can. They bought themselves enough time. Forget the Baron once again. 90 seconds to play for the soul point, and no doubt Gravitas is going to be looking to say, we need the soul point. That opens up the floodgates. That allows us to be more durable, allows us to try and soak up this poke and pretty much nullify what Legacy have put together.
So what we do have right now, though, Skimmy, is the 3 items completed for the Ezreal. Frozen Heart is going to be the 3rd item of choice here, however, and Muramana, of course, being upgraded from that Manamune. This is an Ezreal that you cannot kill if you do physical damage. But they have so much true damage, I actually don't think that Legacy care much. As Incursio.
Well, he jumps into the mist for a second, and that's all it really took for him
You're
to
allowed
fall
to blink
down.
on that one. He probably shouldn't be there. There's a dragon in a minute. You know, Legacy are going to take this chance to go for a Baron, but if this gets thwarted, like if this gets stopped, very hard to contest the 4th dragon potentially there for Gravitas.
Now goes the Ezreal ult, drops Winter down to 50%. He's been the crux of their engage, always finding beautiful angles to land the ultimate and start the fight off on a winning terms for them. That's going to be enough to try and deter them. Another turret falls in mid lane, the first actually at the 26-minute mark here for Gravitas. And a numbers advantage proves to be decisive enough to say 20 seconds from the dragon. What's your next move, Legacy?
Legacy 3 of the 4 most gold right now on the map, which is quite funny to look at a 4 and 9 Viego and say, oh, he's currently, oh, no, never mind, he's 5th. Need to actually start talking through this one like it's an auction.
Well, here we are. Familiar situation. This time, though, Legacy on the flank. They haven't spotted Incursio. They know that he's up to no good. Out goes the Equalizer. It doesn't matter. They've already picked up the soul point. Will the ocean be enough? Can they swim with the fishes, or can they surf the waves to victory? They're going to fall on down. 2 members of Legacy finding kills, finding success. And the rest of Gravitas able to disengage away to safety. Big respawn time is now, Rusty.
Yeah.
30 seconds and counting.
I mean, at the least, you would expect this to be the Baron. I think Legacy were in 2 minds between, do we go for the inhibitor, perhaps? But with 2 people alive and with one of them being quite difficult to take down in an Aatrox and strong supplementary crowd control in a Braum, they're going to go for the Baron for free 100%. And just keep Winter in mid lane, give it a couple punches and keep tabs on the whereabouts of Sappho and Floppy. Soul is important. 100%, I think Gravitas will be happy they collected that. but they've lost a lot of their members, they've lost a lot of time, they've lost a Baron buff as a result. So it is a short-term loss for a potential long-term gain.
Worth noting though, as the game continues, as we continue to see, as you say, the duality of these team fights where one team picks it apart, the other team falls on down, those respawn times are going to become much more punishing. Can't afford to fall on down for 50 seconds, especially if you're Gravitas, given the fact that Legacy have opened up so many options and avenues just to run it straight through mid. For instance, that mid tier 2 is crippled. They're very low to fall on down. Start looking to try and force that with an empowered cannon minion. And that's a gateway straight through to a mid lane inhibitor.
Yeah, right now we're gonna have to ask the question of what exactly can Legacy get with this Baron, right? You've got Baron empowered cannons with a Varus that can sit back and just litter attacks from a distance. And those are quite difficult for Gravitas to deal with. You've really just got Thomas Shen that can throw those Mystic shots at it. You've got potentially, I would say, 2 waves as the best avenue of attack here. And I like what Legacy are actually doing. Oh, Equalizer.
Equalizer goes out nice and early. Gravitas now looking to try and turn things around as Safa jumps in. Stibble goes golden. Members looking to try and fight. Suplex comes out, locks in place Aatrox. Turning things around right now, poking from afar. Thomas Shen versus this styled Varus. Who can try and exhibit the most power from afar and allow these bruises and engaged threats to stick around and stay a while.
And suddenly 2 lanes has become 1 as their top laner falls. I think for him, unfortunately, his ultimate attempt was actually trying to pull Safa over the wall towards the rest of his team, right? Where the Aatrox was just going to be easy pickings and easy kill to take down, but Winter just misses, gets stuck in the nook there, right next to that bush. And unfortunately for Legacy, they get pushed back, which means Baron not a whole lot doing. I think I have a fire alarm going off.
I can hear it in the background.
Yeah, you can hear that?
Things are getting pretty rowdy, mate. So it's upset the neighbors. Complaints have been registered, and fair enough.
Fire alarm's been watching this game as well.
This game has been fired, to say the least. 40 kills in 30 minutes. It feels like an OPL Classico gone wild, as both teams continue to exhibit what their win conditions are. For Styled, from start to finish here, 7-1-8. He's really been having the performance of his life to open up and I suppose confirm your opinion of him that he is, one of the big strengths of this roster. On the flip side of that, Incursio continues to sit in the side lanes, and when he pops off, he does so in convincing fashion, but he's fast approaching that 10 death power spike.
I swear that alarm was getting louder. Sorry, if it kept going when you stopped, I was about to say, I'm going to check on that thing. But it's gone, we're good, we're good. We're waiting now. We still have a Baron buff. It's just about to expire very soon, but they will get themselves another tower for it. This gold difference is enough to potentially get through an Ocean Soul. The question is who they attack and how they actually find that avenue of entry, because I don't think it's enough to get through an Ocean Soul on a Braum, Xin Zhao, and Aatrox. It is enough to get through potentially on the Ezreal if the right damage mix hits him, and 100% Quixote. And if those 2 die, then it really is just about ignoring the rest of the team and pushing past them.
Certainly is the case right now. If you talk about healing reduction threats, there's a couple on the side of Legacy right now, with Incursio stuck in a spot above her. Has to burn flash at the last minute outside that blue buff pit. Be Safa caught in trouble as a result right now. Split from the team, may just fall on down, flashes away from the empowered Q as the rest of his team crumble around him. Another fight that just goes pear-shaped with the main engage threats in Arcano and Floppy just falling to the floor first, and the rest of the team not willing to jump in with them.
Yeah, we didn't really get to see how that one started, but Arcano already had his ultimate down. No Baron buff, I don't think is an issue right now, as Out is going to be able to push through and do some good damage. Turret falls, inhibitor 100% is going to drop with it. The question is beyond this inhibitor where Legacy choose to go, as I would say that forcing to an end there is pretty unrealistic. Not enough time with those death timers. Resetting now, you have 1 minute until the Elder Dragon is about to spawn. So yes, there's an Ocean Soul there from Gravitas. That's probably the thing that's keeping them the most in this game. But now you've got Elder Dragon with no flash on your Xin Zhao, on your Aatrox to close distances and look for engages. Does make life a little bit easier here for the side of Legacy, just to lay down that Equalizer, put down the red carpet and say, meet us in the Dragon Pit if you can.
Certainly can. This time we'll get an option as to how it'll start out. Incursio baiting, baits out more, flashes away in the end, and the rest of his team can then crumple and collapse on those caught in the crossfire.
Arcano actually just gets beaten up by Sybil. Nice little zone use there, and Winterer having a honestly outstanding game when it comes to these team fights. You know, there's a couple of mechanical mistakes here and there, but overall, Winter has done exactly what his team needs of him. You know, to keep styled freely hitting this teleport.
Very lucky to get away from that one as he instantly has the dash away. The Elder has spawned. The Baron up in 40 seconds. There is no prolonged dance. That's one that's going to have to take a fair bit of time to work in their fashion. True Shot Barrage has already been committed. They know that Legacy aren't on this one, but they are in the river first. Vision Denial becoming the main talking point now.
So a couple of big things that we'll likely be looking for Gravitas is, can that Cyrilda's Grudge get online anytime soon here for Thomas Shen? You know, they've gone for the healing cut. They've got some tankiness there, but without that Cyrilda's, he can't 1v9. There is still going to be a little bit too much tankiness to be standing in front of him. But with the Dragon as a present threat, you know, he doesn't really have that time that he can afford. Sybil was sitting there with his flank position, but really, it's just posturing right now. It's dancing around the Dragon. Sapphire.
Sapphire's just going to pop the ultimate, say enough is enough. He wanted a reset. He wanted to go back for base with a big item disadvantage. He says, I want to try and go back, but I can't because this Elder is just going to be taunted against us. Pops the ultimate.
Impatient.
The rest of Legacy just run away. Sybil nearly gets one shot, but goes golden as he pops that Zonias. Out goes the suplex. Once again, Winter brings them all together. And it's a fantastic equalizer, bringing them all under one banner. It's going to be Thomas Shen that finds the first kill, and Powers with the heal, hopes that he can survive. Akano finds the second, but Snarl gets the third. The kills are going back and forth so far. All the while, Rusty, the Elder is still aggroed at 50%.
Is against the world here. Can potentially do some work. So hard to steal this one, however. Yeah, no chance of stealing that one. They need to get back to their base, though, Skimmy, because the super minions are starting to push in. Towers are falling. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's a big win here for Gravitas, as Winterer and Incursio are just not tanky enough if they don't have Sybil flanking with damage.
Mentioned the word impatience there from Sapphire, but in the end proves to be just enough to try and step up on his opposition and throw them a curveball of, well, are you going to fight us? Are you going to back away and say we need to poke from afar just a little bit more? It seemed all so good with the grab together and the equalizer laid on top, but in the end, Thomas Shen's able to find the opening kill, and the fight does go their way.
I mean, Sybil sees Kyosei on a ward, so that makes me wonder if he was looking at his own screen. Because that was a slow attempt of a flank there from Kyosei that was massively successful. One major thing here as well that has to be highlighted is the ultimate from Xin Zhao stops all equalizer damage from Sybil. If that damage was actually coming across, it's a different fight. Xin Zhao's dead. Almost impossible to look towards that Elder Dragon. And this is one of the big reasons as to why this is such a fantastic pick, as we now set our eyes towards the Baron.
From buff to buff they go. Life is good right now. Ocean Soul, Elder Soul, and Baron Soul too. Everything coming together to give them the ultimate power to try and even up this gold deficit that they've been fighting behind for the fair majority of this game. Question is now, Rusty, how will they look to try and posture? Because they've only taken down one turret.
Yeah, a lot of potential just for money in general currently on the map, but you have an Elder that's going to expire well before the Baron, so you would want to play for kills. Ideally, and this is best case scenario for Gravitas, of course, right, is run down mid lane, find a pick, win the game in a single fight if you can. The risk is if that doesn't work, you know, you've got side lane potential threat here from Legacy, and then you're not playing to get any extra money that could exist with the Baron buff split push. But I think you have to use the Elder while you have it, right, Skimmy? You're looking for those kills if you can. Use the LeBlanc and Siege.
Certainly are. Looking to try and break their spell shield also on the Varus too. Aggro Sapper flashing on forward, and Milk respects and flashes away as well. You can see the threshold required to make sure that Elder connects and kills. Nowhere near, but they are definitely forcing their hand and saying that inhibitor, it is ours. That equals out the inhibitor that we've also lost in our own base. Going to turn our attention elsewhere, but the waves just aren't prepped anywhere near enough to even try and turn towards that kind of direction.
Oh, zero side lane management for them, and rightly so, right? We highlight this. You need to push mid while you have the Elder while it exists. Now you reset, set up those side lanes, get some pushes, build big waves of creeps and poke with the Ezreal. Threaten with the LeBlanc, of course, now that Death Cap being there is going to be quite a significant issue for Legacy to deal with. Styled in particular wants to be sitting back and really remain untouched to be successful, but hang on.
Seven face checks, and, well, pays the ultimate price, really. Down for 60 seconds, a core component of what they require has been removed away, and that is the worst case scenario here.
mean, that was just money greed. There's no other reason to be where he was besides perhaps looking for the Raptors. Nice little bush there from Legacy. They're able to find themselves the kill. That mid lane inhibitor going to be threatened now also. No Elder Dragon anymore, so easier said than done in the way of defending, but so far so good for Gravitas.
The game's just on a knife's edge, really, isn't it? It takes one pick, and you're thinking, Gravitas have everything. What more could they need? What more could they want? And still, Legacy able to bounce back and find success.
Just a bit of ping pong for our first game. Oh my god, okay, Kyose's just copped that one.
Oh!
And that one.
He has his stopwatch. He's just out the fight straight away, straight to base. That mid inhibitor falls on down again. And at this current rate of pace, we may just be running it back to a second Baron and a second Elder.
Cheeky from Kyose here as well. He was looking towards a potential game-ending fight. You can see that because he has the Zonias and the stopwatch. Only uses the Zonias, thankfully. So if they were to flash on him, you know, make some kind of bold, crazy call to all in on the LeBlanc, he actually had another 2 seconds of stasis ready and could have baited them in. So well done here from Legacy. They'll get the inhibitor, they'll reset, they'll disengage. And once more, we find ourselves with both mid inhibitors gone and this need to almost just sit mid and ARAM. I did mention it foolishly at one point, Skimmy, that if they wanted to, they could split push. You know, they've got a Viego that is not bad. Yeah. Split pushing. But I don't think we've seen it.
He tried it once, got caught, said, you know what, enough is enough.
He tried it about 6 times and died every time.
Straight back through mid. It's the only play. Open up those inhibitors, look for the kills, and try and end the game based off that fact. But not enough. Not enough was found to force their hand and to force the end victory result as we patiently stick to the mid ARAM. Wait for those next very all-important buffs to respawn once more and decide how this game will play out.
So I think it's like this. If you want to simplify this game, it is Styled versus Thomas Shen now. You've got a Varus. If the Varus dies, pretty hard for them to win the rest of the fight. There's good damage from a Viego, good damage from a Rumble for sure, but like those two champions exist within the scope of Gravitas' damage field, right? They'll be able to easily hit them. Styled is the one that they have a hard time with. Thomas Shen, pretty much just a tank. Just a giant fridge walking around on the Rift. If you're able to take him down, congratulations. You've probably done enough to win the team fight already.
Damage regardless still coming on through. Really hurting these members as they kite away. Kyose comes in from a flanking angle, looking to try and delete somebody in a heartbeat right there. Tries to take out Style, pops the spell, but not much more. Equalizer's huge! Surely this is a Legacy cleanup angle right now. Stopwatch get burnt galore. Everybody turns golden, but it's not the trophy. It might be the victory, but it might be anything else. Elder's been aggro, but members are falling. More stopwatches are burnt, and more members are falling. It's only Viego out of the picture, soon to be followed here by Sybil. Legacy are crumbling. 3-1 in favor here of Gravitas, despite what was such a disgusting equalizer.
I mean, what more can Sybil do to win a team fight for his squad? At the end of the day, yeah, Gravitas, they've got an Ocean Soul, you know? They should have lost that one if it wasn't an Ocean Soul. Any other soul, it could have been a different story. But now the second Elder of the game goes the way of Gravitas. We've got to Baron up in 25 seconds as well, because why not? It's the first game of our DoorDash LCO. Let's go to 60 minutes. Let's just push it to our absolute limits. We'll see this one more time. Sybil, of course, starts this one. Look at the damage that he does.
Yeah.
But Incursio, you know, does have a stopwatch, does buy time, but like we highlighted, it's so easy to take him down with the Braum composition. You've got Winterer coming into the mix, trying to get some kills, but they're healing now, right? If Incursio's gone, it's just Winterer doing damage. Probably not enough damage. Sybil, he'll be able to watch that replay back and he'll be kicking himself because I think he was extremely inefficient with the way that he used his Flame Spitter over the Dragon Wall, especially if he had flash that entire time. And I do think that Equalizer was good and maybe enough to win the team fight, but his follow-up could have been significantly better.
Both Petty carries remaining untouched, poking from afar. Thomas Shen actually had a team of Dragon in the Elder Baron pit. He was just chilling there, getting aggroed by it, but just life-stealing and staying at 100% topped up and healthy, fighting from afar. The Baron is there, and that is what they will take. They're looking to acquire maximum power for the second time this game. Question is, how will Legacy hold off this time around?
I mean, it's an open inhibitor in mid this time. We'll have to pay more attention, I think, to side lanes more than anything else for Gravitas, how exactly they're going to play this one out. You've got Teleport for Safa. He's currently in top lane. I would imagine he wants the Guardian Angel with that BF sword. It wouldn't be too far away from it. That Equalizer is actually just a band-aid that's thrown down to try and save the mid wave. And Varus, of course, is just going to throw some spells down and litter it at it, but there's no tower to defend this inhibitor. So sooner or later, Gravitas will just walk in. But sooner or later, they will also have a top lane wave set up this time, as it's not just a one-wave effect.
In comes the pressure. Overload are going to be a little bit more calculated. A little bit easier now to force their hand and say that we aren't all in on this mid wave, and if that crumbles, we'll set our chances of making sure that this 2-minute buff finds success. So 2 waves crashing at once, a 3-2 split. Inhibitors are respawning, but they are soon to fall on down as the fight, no doubt, will have to break out shortly. Equalizer is there once again. Flash is being burned across the board from multiple people, so we're very susceptible to this being the last fight of the game.
100%. I mean, at the end of the day, Legacy's only choice to defend is the actual Nexus itself. Those Nexus towers was the only place they could really look to hold. So 2 inhibitors are going to fall down here. And with all the inhibs now back up and ready for Gravitas, they're going to have a lot of permanent priority through those 2 respective waves. And bottom lane, now just going to be the natural course of action for them to take. The longest possible way to win this one is what we are seeing. But that's also in part because Legacy are not giving them an opportunity. They are sitting back as respectfully as they possibly can. Not that they have much of a choice when your comp revolves entirely around a Varus and long-range damage.
Done. We are fast approaching the 50-minute mark. Very late on into this game. Might have a rare occasion where we see 6 items across the board. The longest game was Split 1. We've already beaten that at 43 minutes.
Wasn't the first game of Split 1 19 minutes?
But I forget the exact first game. I remember the longest game of Split 1 was Legacy Pensnet at 43 minutes. We are well past that benchmark here. But Legacy are participating once again.
We switched meta to ganking. And it's the longest. Are you kidding?
It's crazy. But here we are, Rusty. Regardless, ganking or not, 3 inhibitors are soon to fall on down. That may be the 6-member Gravitas needs. Their helping hand to get them across the finishing line here.
Baron buff is close to expiry. We've got the double super waves now about to spawn with this next wave in 3 seconds. And this is where it gets really, really dicey for Legacy, even to just deal with minion waves. We already saw Rumble ults used just to clear waves, and there's only so much that a Varus can thin. Titanic Hydra is actually going to do a bit of work here for Winterer. But when these next buffs spawn, because I assume we're going to the 3rd Elder Dragon, why not? That was... Alright. We've skewered the jungle. Sybil has found them.
A really abstract fact here, Rusty, and I'm sure you'll appreciate. Of all of Split 1, Gravitas were never in a game where an Elder Dragon even spawned. We are now looking at potential for 3 dragons in 1 game.
Welcome to DoorDash LCO, where we're making up for lost time. There's an interesting fact, though. I will give you that one, because they lost very fast in their first split. But here we go.
Oh, the chains connect, but will they spread? They won't indeed. Floppy soaks it up, puts up the door too.
There we go.
And says none shall pass, as Sapphire hasn't been spotted just yet. He was taunting and flanking from a right-hand side. All the waves now crushing and crashing. 3 lanes of super minions. Legacy, a last stand.
Yeah, this is desperation from Legacy. Styled flash ulting to look to hit the chain. Shows that they're desperate. You know, they knew that the double supers were starting to crash in. This is where it gets nearly impossible. Even... Oh, hang on.
Winterer jumps in once again, hits a 4-man suplex, takes out Kyosa, that could be huge. The chains connect again. Thomas Shen's removed, the double for Winterer, Set unstoppable, and Set with a shutdown stalled. He's godlike.
Oh, Sapphire.
Sapphire 1v4. He's picked up 2. Can he get another one? Another chance full on down. The guy's still alive. He has a GA. He's got an Ocean Soul. He's got everything. He's getting shut down like you would not believe. Floppy just hits them once and twice, hits the passive, and says hello.
He's got a GA.
He's gone to the afterlife. 1v3. Can he do it? Their minions are still punching on. They're still getting rowdy about it. He might just die for the 2nd time in a row, but still life leeching, still surviving, still getting haymakers to the dome. Still falls on down. And the minions will end the game to start off Split 2.
Sapphire is actually just a titan. He lives for like 50 seconds. A Floppy straight up abandoned him, Skibby. The Brawl was like, there's no way that our Aatrox survives. And here we are, a minute later, and the Nexus dies from minions. Insane. stuff coming out of Gravitas. Never doubted him, Skibby. Never doubted him.
Not for a minute. I mean, for me, wow. What a way to end where you're thinking, this is it, desperation, every wave crashing on in, and Legacy, they may just have done it. They've just done it. No, Safa, a raid boss, a literal raid boss, bench pressing his way to victory, laughing in the cam, allowing his minions to get the job done.
What an interesting way to kick off the DoorDash LCO. What an interesting way to start the split. That was not expected. And I will admit, you know, when Mac came in, it was like, what's the game of the day that you're excited for? And I said game one. Don't think I expected quite that, but hey, we got it. we got it, so we take it.
We certainly did. Mac, I mean, you were in our ears having a good time, living and, you know, enjoying everything that we saw on our screens. Mate, you know, what more could you ask for an introduction, at least to our international fans more so than anything, of, you know, what we do down here?
I can't believe it. The fact that we got a longer game in the first game of Split 2 than we got all of last season was something. But then that ending, obviously you could hear me. I was trying to stay as quiet as I could until you guys obviously threw out some banger jokes throughout the cast. But also just the end, the observers took us straight onto all the minions. And there's just this army. Just attacking the Nexus. I just didn't even pick up on it. I was watching Safa. I think everyone was watching Safa go, oh, can he do it? This man survived for a good whole minute in this bloody fight, if not longer. Oh, absolutely ridiculous. Now, let's have a look at the DoorDash hashtag send it replays as well. There was so many turning points in this game. I wrote many notes which are now irrelevant because we're 48 minutes deep, 49 minutes deep, whatever it was. But Gravitas, they did it. So I thought Legacy early on in the match was looking pretty good to take it. But again, as you mentioned throughout the broadcast there, Rusty, you know, it's the ganking meta. Why has it gone so long? We've got over, I think we ended up getting over 50 kills easily there after the last team fight. But boy, I just was not expecting Split 2 to begin like this.
No, absolutely not expecting the split to kick off this way, and it was, you know, topsy-turvy. It was definitely back and forth. I think Legacy will be kicking themselves. You know, so many fantastic team fights, and then a couple of them where they just shouldn't have fought at all, perhaps, or, you know, if they were going to, it should have been much faster or sooner that they got to the pit. And this is that last moment where Safa's just absolutely indomitable. You know, the guy is huge, too many health bars. It's actually a raid boss encounter where you think you've finished it, and he comes back with a stronger health bar, and you're just annoyed.
Yeah, phase 2 certainly coming in at the perfect moment. And you can tell it just got to that point where Gravitas were just saying, you know what, Winions, so just distract him. And that job was done perfectly. So Legacy just eyes off the prize. And we did mention before going into this game, if Legacy had managed to, you know, pick up the pieces and improve on closing out these games, and it seems like they might not have done that, but at least on the other side of things, Gravitas, you mentioned it, Skimmy, didn't get an Elder Drake throughout all last split, and now they've got 2. They could have got 3, but they decided to end it when they could.
I mean, I don't even know what to say at this point anymore, Mac. You know, you're looking at a game where you're thinking, especially for Style, just stuck in Elo hell because you played that one so beautifully. You've managed to get yourself a massive lead in the early game, allowed your map rotations to be fantastic as a result. You're just disintegrating waves. Sure, you can make an argument that, you know, sometimes your poking posturing wasn't all on the same level. I'm sure Winter also is going to be frustrated by the fact that, you know, his job was to be the engage tool, and he was getting that consistently, you know. All these creative angles, these vision denials, these plays of saying, all right, I've served all these guys up to you in a silver platter, just do some damage. And in the end, Gravitas say, look, we'll run it back, 15 minutes in, we'll give you a banger, but you just didn't know which way to tip that one.
Well, look, someone that certainly tipped it the right way was Safa, and he is the DoorDash player that delivered. Oh, he did so damn well that game. You know, there was one point I remember he went to face check the bush when he was getting a little bit greedy, if you can remember that one, down towards mid lane when Legacy were pushing down. But other than that, the man played it perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, the mid lane Raptor bush, also top lane, there was a bit of indecision from him. So, you know, if we can fault him, it definitely wasn't the perfect game. But at the end of the day, he did what he was needed, what was needed of him, right? He was a frontline for his team. He kept them busy. The shields, the healing, it was all there. And, you know, once the team started to rally around him, he was basically unstoppable. And that is what we saw at the very end.
Yeah, I didn't actually have a chance to look at the items there. I was, towards the end, just fully focused on the chaos of the whole situation. But did anyone from Legacy end up building healing reduction?
Last I checked,
Yeah,
we had it on Karma and we had it on Viego. I didn't check.
Yeah, there
from
was a
that point onwards.
Putrefier from Karma, so everyone basically had healing cut. There was also a Serpent's Fang from ML, so they also had shielding reduction or shielding cut.
Yeah.
So they had all the tools back. They had what they could.
Well, they tried. And look, it was a close game. It could have gone either way. There was a point where it was just it was almost the parlay. Everyone's standing back, not wanting to be the team that makes the wrong move. And, well, honestly, how are we supposed to follow up that match? We've got 3 more matches coming up. But before that, let's bring in Nat and have a quick chat. What are you, Nat, come on. You just take the reins here. What are your thoughts on that match?
It was really interesting. It was so amazing to watch, right? I was like, oh my gosh, Legacy have done it. They've like practiced all of this time and on like the break, and now they're going to be able to close out a game. And then you just see Gravitas, who's like, no, we're not giving them that chance. We're going to take this. This is going to be ours. We're going to get the first win of Split 2. So I was on the edge of my seat pretty much all of it. And props to Safa for that ending there. It was insane. But someone that I do want to talk to and absolutely bring a few eyes to is Akano. Congratulations on that win and congratulations on your performance. I've got to say it was phenomenal to watch you play. How are you feeling? How are the emotions?
Look, the team is all really hyped after our first win of the split. I think everyone did well, especially Safa. He really carried the game out. He was telling us to wait for the wave, and every time we just listen to him.
Well, look, it seemed to have paid off listening to him. Is he the main comms and shot caller for you guys in team fights?
Usually we decide whoever is the most fit on the team gets the shot calls.
I see. Walk me through the draft as well. I want to know why you guys picked who you did, how many of them were counters, and were you just mainly going for comfort picks?
So based on our screens, we set up few decent comps against Legacy, and we kind of had sight for future who Legacy members going to pick against our specific comps. Just lay it out.
I like it. You took the knowledge that you had from scrims and it played to your advantage. The other question I want to ask you is a lot about dragon control. You guys seem to have control over that dragon pit the whole time. What was the key to doing that?
To set up waves before like 1:30 before the dragon respawn, then we take a reset. Everyone just buys all the items and we comms. Is the wave state alright? Is the vision good? And what's the flash cooldown and TP cooldown of the enemy team?
Well, look, it sounds like you guys really have absolutely improved over the break, and it's really great to see you on the Gravitas roster. Congratulations again on not only your first win, but the first win of Split 2, and I look forward to seeing you guys play again.
Thank you.
Always good to hear from the players, and what a great way to come out of the gates from Akano. He really impressed us early on in the game. Obviously, with the Shin, you sort of do slow down towards the later stages of the game, but really just making his mark on the LCO as early as he can. Now, we're not going to hang around here for too long because we are running behind time as I check my invisible watch. But ladies and gentlemen, don't go too far. We've got a second match coming up just after this break for the DoorDash LCO.
Look at the bathroom bite.
Again, Thomas Shin's removed. The double for Winter is set unstoppable and set with a shutdown stalled. He's godlike.
Oh, Safa.
Safa 1v4. He's picked up 2. Can he get another one? Another chance, full on down. The guy's still alive. He has a GA. He's got an Ocean Soul. He's got everything. He's getting shut down like you would not believe. Floppy just hits him once and twice, hits the passive and says hello.
He's got a GA.
He's gone to the afterlife. 1v3. Can he do it? Their minions are still punching on. They're still getting rowdy.